Hey everyone, welcome back to Crushin Cans, sponsored by Torque Brewing on the Habs Tonight YouTube channel. Tonight is the season premiere for us Cans boys, and we got a big interview coming up. Derrick, how you doing, dude?
Good to be back. I forgot how loud that intro was. I had to turn it down a bit. It was right there, right? So, no, this is huge. We've been really excited about this one. So, you just want to jump right into it and let's get her going.
Yeah, I think it's time to bring AJ Galante into this from the Notorious Netflix docuseries Untold, Crime and Penalties. It's been trending all over the world on Netflix. Let's welcome AJ to the show.
Hey there, guys. How you doing, buddy?
Doing Thanks for having me, guys. How are you?
Doing real good. How are you doing?
Doing well. You know, just been it's been a crazy 6 weeks, I guess. It's been nuts, but you know, all very humbling experiences.
Yeah, trending worldwide, top 10 Netflix. Like this is absolutely just probably been the biggest sports story like going right now, easily.
I don't even know what to say. It's you know, I would you know, when we lost the team in 06, I mean, would have never thought 15 years later we'd we'd be talking about it. Especially, I mean, you know, locally it's always been a story, I guess, but it's just been amplified to like the 1,000th degree ever since the doc came out. It's been insane.
And before we get into it, so how did this whole Netflix thing come about? I know some people have paid attention to the Chicklets interview you did, but for some of our fans that aren't aware, how did this all start? Like, did you approach them or they come to you like, hey, we heard of this crazy story. What is it? Tell us.
Yeah, I mean, it was almost 3 years ago. It was right after Thanksgiving here in the States in 2018. I got an email from McLean Way, who's one of the Way brothers that produced the whole Untold series, all 5 episodes. And I'll be honest with you, I kind of deleted it. You know, it's like, because I've been I've been approached for so many different projects and this and that, and it's just like, you know, I was like, people are gonna be, how many times can we tell this story? You know what I mean? And he kept I gotta give him credit for persistence. He kept pressing me about it. Finally, I'm like, you know what? Let me give this man the respect of a call. And he pitched the whole thing in like 90 seconds. And he told me how he was, you know, contracted by Netflix to run this series, and he was going over, you know, Christy Martin, Caitlyn Jenner, Malice in the Palace, all these episodes. And he's like, but we need the Trashers. And I'm like, this is crazy because I'm thinking to myself, how does the Trashers fit in with these major names, like major sports stories, right? And I'm like, you know, I don't want to be that like token episode they kind of throw in a series just to like kill time, you know what I mean? So at first I was figuring like they just want to add us because maybe it's like a cheap doc they can make, kind of just throw us in. But he's like, listen, AJ, he goes, trust me, we're going to knock this out of the park if you let us. Like, trust me, ba. I spoke to my dad, and, you know, we kind of had mixed feelings on it. And ultimately, since he's been home, we haven't put the story to bed in a way, right? So, you know, it was kind of like, you know, we came like a storm in 2004, and then before you knew it, 2 years later, we're out. You know, we rose and fell so quick. There wasn't any ceremonial, you know, goodbye or anything. So we're like, you know what? It's Netflix. Let's put it to bed, right? And we ended up here we are now, and I don't think we put it to bed. It's insane. So I don't know what we did, but it's like it's like I don't know what it is about this Trasher story. It doesn't want to die. It's like a horror movie where you bury the bad guy and it's like the hand comes up, right? So it's like it just doesn't. Listen, I enjoy telling the stories. I'll do it till I die if I have to. But the story, I just people just seem to really take to it. There's just it's very humbling.
I remember like when it did come out, the Malice was the first episode, and me and Brando were talking about it. And then the following Tuesday, the Trasher one came out, and I texted him right away. I'm like, dude, you need to watch this. And then as I told you, I had heard the 5 for Fighting podcast the year before. So I kind of had an idea, but to actually see it all put together and like your camcorder footage was unbelievable.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It's great story. I mean, it's huge now, right? So
it's like I said. I mean, it's just I wasn't. I'm pretty good at anticipating things. And like the week. This whole so they filmed 2 years ago in August of 2019. So we knew it was coming. We couldn't contractually announce anything until Netflix did. And, the project got pushed back because of COVID and everything. And like maybe the week before the release date of the doc is kind of when it started feeling real. Like, okay, this is actually really happening. And you wonder, like, other than my mother, how many people are going to watch this? You know what I mean? It's like I know I got one view with my mother, right? So it's kind of like, how many people are really going to watch this, And it was like almost immediately from like the minute Tuesday, it was Tuesday, August 31st. It was like, it's been a whirlwind ever since. And like I said, it's super humbling. You get messages from people all over the world. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, I get messages on Instagram in Chinese. Like, I don't even know what I'm reading. You know what I mean? And it's like, I gotta copy paste, put it on Google Translator, and it's just like it's insane. I don't even know how to describe it at this point.
I was going to ask you, so what is the feeling when you're sitting there Tuesday, August 31st, and then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday? Like, are you like texting people, talking to family, like, holy shit, this is blowing up?
Well, the very next day is when, I don't want to get too into it, but I spoke with Drake, right? So yeah. It was like, it was like I don't even know how to describe it. It's like, it comes out Tuesday. The next day I'm talking with arguably the biggest, artist on the planet, arguably, and I'm just like, this is insane. And, it's kind of like, where do you go from there? Right. So it's like we peaked, guys, that's it. And it's like, I figured like a week and a half, 2 weeks, it'll die down. Right. And then it's like, the next thing, and then it's like the next here locally, because we're technically in the New York metropolitan area. I got rap artists from this area. Like, this logo now is like the logo, right? So
everywhere,
it's insane. I mean, yeah, there it is. And
Scrappy.
I don't know, man. It's like we never did this for the money, and it's just like to see the logo reach so many different people and countries, it's like, it's the coolest thing. But I've been waiting for it to die down a little, and honestly, it really hasn't. I don't know what to do. I don't know where to go. I'm on Instagram. I'm controlling the Instagram. I'm like, I don't know what content to put out. I don't know. Like, watch the doc. I don't. We don't have like we played 2 seasons, so it's not like I have so much archival footage. So I'm trying to keep people engaged, and we've been coming up with all sorts of cool little ideas to just keep the thing going.
This has become a cult classic. I would say that this is one of those. It will live on definitely forever now. Like this is it's crazy.
No, it's super cool, man. I mean, look. Anyone who, I'm not going to sit here and play cool with you like it's no big deal. It's so cool. It's like, I was just like a little idiot kid back then doing this. And now it's like, I'm in my mid 30s over here. Right. And it's crazy. It's just like, it's so humbling.
And for those who don't know or haven't watched it yet, you have to go watch it. But I mean, we'll bring the fans back a bit just so they get kind of like a preface to how this all happened. So your dad, James Galante, he buys the UHL team when you're 17 years old. I mean, like, what's the thought process when you come home and your dad's like, hey, we just bought a hockey team? Like, I know you played hockey growing up, a little bit of Devils fan and stuff like that. But so how did that all go down?
Listen, I've told the story so many times, and I just always got to be real. Like, I always, like, I'll never embellish a story. I wish I had a cooler story, but how it all started. But it was simply, we're having dinner on a Sunday night, and me, my mother, my father, my sister, and he just casually just said, hey, I'm going to start a minor league hockey team in the fall. This had to be March of 2004. And I was like, okay, Dad. My dad's a serious individual, but he likes to joke. He likes to play around sometimes. And I thought he was playing, honestly. So I'm like, I'll play with him back. I'm like, oh, great, Dad. That sounds like a great idea. I didn't want to give him the satisfaction. So he's like, yeah, you're going to run it. You'll be the president. And I'm like, oh, sure, Dad. No, that sounds like a great idea, And then he just nodded, and that was it. Literally, that was our negotiation, and
we signed the contract.
That was our verbal, and if you watch the doc, it's so true. It's not an embellishment. Like a week later, I'm in school, and teachers are coming up, shaking my hand, and I'm like, the hell's going on? And my buddy's like, you see the paper? And I'm like, why? So you go to the library, and I'm looking at the paper, and I see my dad's picture, my picture, and I was like, this is crazy. And I was like, oh my God, he wasn't playing around. He wasn't playing around. I was like, this is nuts. And I played it cool, but yeah, it's funny. My dad didn't even give me a warning, like, hey, the paper today, it's gonna be in. You know what I mean? And what didn't make the doc, which is funny. So that day, I'm in school. I might as well not have been in school. My head was all over the place, and I was freaking out. We get home. My dad would come home 7:30 at night every night on the dot. And he comes in, he sits down, and it's like we played a game of chicken. I didn't say anything. He didn't say anything. And we ate dinner, watched TV, go to bed. No one said a word. My mother, no one said a word. It was the weirdest. We're such weirdos. It was the weirdest situation. We didn't say a word about it. I couldn't sleep that night. I'm thinking, how do I get out of this? I can't do this. You start thinking like I'm starting college in the fall. Like I just had this major knee surgery. You got a girlfriend, right? You're like, how am I going to manage my social? And I really thought about trying to get out of it. But, I said, listen, my dad always taught me about keeping your word. And whether I thought he was joking or not, I gave him my word I would do it. So, we never talked about it. We woke up. And a few days later in the weekend, we just started getting to work. Like we didn't even talk about it. We just sat down with a pen and paper and literally like doing a homework project. We just went to work. That's literally how it went down.
Did you guys have the name and logo in mind, right from the get-go, or did that come along as you guys were starting to build the team?
So he wanted Trashers from day one, because he owned the garbage companies, and I hated the name at first. I'm like, this is stupid, right? He's like, well, listen, at the end of the day, the man's writing the checks. That's what it's going to be called. So at first I didn't like the name. And it's so crazy how life works. There was a guy who knew who made this logo before Scrappy. And it was so bad. It was just like text, right? There was no can, nothing. It was just Trashers, and then the S turned into a underline. It made a hockey stick. It wasn't a good logo, and I was like, this is horrible. This is a bad name with a bad logo. This is just a recipe for disaster. So sure enough, on April 1st, our press conference, April Fool's Day, when we were going to announce the team, we had every intention of showing this crap logo, really, and literally 15 minutes before we leave to go to the press conference at the rink, my dad's secretary came in with a fax. This guy who lives in Danbury works for a big marketing firm in New York City, in Manhattan, and takes the train to the city every single morning. And he saw in the paper that we were announcing the team. He literally sketched, his name is Dominic Alessandro. He literally sketched the logo you see, in our background right here. He sketched it.
Those are so
and faxed it, and he literally sketched that logo and faxed it to my dad's office, which was a big office. And luckily we saw it in time before we went to the press conference. And we were like, that's it. Now I was like, now I get it. Trasher, that's it. That's the logo. And that's how it, if he never sent that fax, I don't know where we would be right now, because that logo, that single-handedly changed my whole opinion on the whole name and everything.
So when you guys do the press conference and then also like the big Gretzky signing, which I found like it was hilarious, but such smart marketing. So who's like, is that your idea, his idea, or is that somebody like brought up the idea to you guys? Like, how'd that go down? Like, it's so genius.
Honestly, dude, to be honest with you, people don't think, like, I promise you, there wasn't a lot of thinking going on. We literally just would do things. Like, we wouldn't, like, Brandon, I'm telling you right now, we wouldn't sit, like, we didn't have, like, board meetings or anything like that. We didn't have, like, you know, we didn't have board meetings and marketing plans. We just would sit and literally just say, that would be funny, or let's do that. And then, like, when it started to happen, we're kind of like, oh, this does make sense. This would be fun. The Gretzky thing, to be honest with you, we did plan that one. I can't say exactly who had the idea at first. It was kind of like a, you know, collaborative effort where we're like, let's announce, you know, we leaked it to the press. Because, look, we're not in a hockey town, right? Especially back in 2004. So, like, how are we going to get people to pay attention to our press conference, you know, to announce the team? So we leaked it out there that Gretzky was going to be there and that we were going to sign Gretzky, you know? We weren't technically lying, right? So it was kind of like, that's kind of funny. And the minute we said that, you know, we had press from, you know, New York, from Connecticut, everywhere in New England, ESPN. And yeah, man, that's kind of, you know, listen, you do what you got to do sometimes. And that, from that moment on, we felt the momentum. Like, people were like, oh, they're a little slick, these guys, right? So they were kind of like, okay. So that whole Gretzky thing, that hooked a lot of people in. And then, you know, first impressions are everything. So that's kind of how we wanted to start the whole thing.
With that too, and I guess you guys, if not everyone knows, but Brad Wingfield was your first original signing. Yes, and he was a major focus in the doc too. What could you say about that guy, having him? Because just seeing him throughout the whole thing, he seemed to be like the heart and soul of the team there.
Look, there's certain guys in life, not even just hockey. Like, there's just certain guys that have a presence, right? And I think it's important when any team that you're involved in, there has to be some sort of presence, right? And Brad was a guy where, you know, if you saw the movie Jaws, right? Every time Brad enters a room, I'm thinking of that music when Jaws comes up and the shark like da-na, na-na, na-na. Brad was technically our first signing. You know, we didn't introduce him first, but he was our first guy. And that was the type of team we were trying to build. And we're like, we just need one of the biggest, baddest guys out there. And, you know, and you guys know, being hockey guys, I mean, that back in those days, that enforcer role, massive. A lot of guys had that role. Maybe they didn't necessarily enjoy it, but it kept them on, you know, kept them in the show. It kept them in the league, kept them in the lineup. We were looking for guys that really actually liked the role. You got to be a little tweaked to like that. And Brad was one of those guys that took his role very serious and he enjoyed it. And I'm like, that's the type of thing we're trying to build here. But every time I used to see Brad, like that Jaws music that would play, and he just had even when he was on the ice. Maybe he had a 40-second shift, didn't do anything, but when he was on there, you felt it. The atmosphere totally changed when he got on the ice. And he could just be gliding for 40 seconds, but you knew he was out there.
Oh, for sure. And I was going to ask you too, was that style of play from like your guys' thought process from day one, like, we are going to beat the living piss out of everybody and win hockey games? Or was it like just kind of happened, like a fight broke out and like, okay, this is what brings the crowd in?
100%. That's from day one. Like we just said, like a week after it came out in the paper, we sat down and we started planning. We're like, look, like, we're not in a hockey like hotbed here. It's, you know, minor league hockey. We're here to win, but at the same time, how do we keep people entertained? And look, back in those days, as you guys know, that was a major part of hockey. And it's what people liked, and you know what? We just from day one, that's what we wanted. We wanted that type of that the bad boy mentality, and that was 1,000,000%. From day one, that was the works, and you know what? Here we are still talking about it. So it worked, but it's just crazy how things just work out sometimes.
Also in the doc with Mr. Brozel, right?
Yeah.
What was it like the first time meeting him before the season got going there?
I mean, if you watch the doc, and if you haven't, definitely check it out. How he describes our first encounter is like verbatim, 1,000,000% how it happened. As a matter of fact, when I watched the doc for the first time, I literally started laughing hearing him describe it because it couldn't be more true. I mean, he came. I remember when he came and he met my dad, and my dad told me how I talked to him alone at first, and I was in the other room or whatever I was doing, and I came in, and he just looked at me, and when he started connecting the dots and realized I was part of this team, part of the equation, I mean, his face dropped. He was like, and I was like, "Hey, Mr. Brissell, how you doing?" It was like, I love that guy. To this day, I love that guy. I thought he was great in the doc, and you know what? He's a commissioner. Like, he has a job to do. So, like, he couldn't be biased. But I think deep down we were his favorite team. He'll never – I doubt he'll ever admit to it, but he knows. And we used to drive that – I mean, he did have a little bit of hair when we met him, and he lost it all. By the time we got out of the league, he was chrome dome.
I was going to say, like, I must have been almost after every one of your games, or at least home games. He must have been getting in contact with you guys.
So our games were majority played on the weekends, right? And, whether they're all home or a mix or away. I would come home from college. I went to college in New York. I'd come home every Thursday night or Friday. We'd have our games. Even if it was away games, we'd watch it we had like a feed. Excuse me. And Monday, I would get in the car to go back to New York. 9 o'clock on the dot every morning on Monday morning, I'd get the call. And it would be, a Missouri number because I think the offices were in Missouri. And, dude, I'm telling you, it's like it was like a parent. He would be yelling at me from the minute I said hello. and I knew who it was, and he knew I knew who it was, but I'd be like, hello. Like, I would say it like that. And he would just, you guys are a disgrace. What are you doing? You guys are crazy. Whatever we did that weekend. I'm getting heat from the higher leagues about you guys. Fans are sending us, I'm like, Mr. Broussard, I'm sorry. What, I don't know what happened. What, calm down. That's a great picture right there. That's something happening. But that's how it would be. And he'd be like, you know what I'm talking about? I'm like, I don't know. I was like, I have no idea what happened. Let me look into it for you. And then the conversation would always end with, like, he would soften up a little bit. Like, come on, AJ, like, get it together. Like, you're representing a big league and this and that. I'm like, all right, well, it won't happen again. And I'm sorry. And it was like on repeat for like 2 years straight. Next Monday morning at 9 a.m. I mean, he gave it to me a few times pretty good.
Must have had you on speed dial 1 for sure by then.
1,000,000%. Yeah.
Speaking of those phone calls, this is my next question, referring to the team's trainer, Tommy Papacello there. What some of the antics that were shown in the doc were absolutely hilarious. I was dying. Are there any that didn't make it that can be talked about?
Allegedly.
Yeah, of course this is all alleged, but I mean, listen, I know for a fact, the visitors' bench got cut like 6 feet, and there wasn't enough, like, guys would get in and look around and got nowhere to sit. And it's kind of like, what do you it's kind of like, well, what are you going to do? Like, not play? I mean, we traveled 2,500 miles on a bus. What are you going to not play? So you have half the game guys just standing there, you know, they got nowhere to sit. Allegedly, I don't know what happened. You know, you do look at that guy. What a beauty. Oh my God. But yeah, I mean, you know, I've heard of stories where fish were put in the heating vents of the visitor locker room, and you know that's a beautiful smell, you know, especially 3-day-old rotten fish. I mean, just dude, you know what it was, and I've said this on a few other things, but it couldn't be more true. Picture like the most fun like sleepover you had in middle school, right? Like the dumbest, like you guys think you're so funny, but it's the dumbest pranks you're playing on your buddies, or you know, you call on the operator. You know, we were just so annoying to deal with on so many levels. As I look back now, we were just from top to bottom the most annoying group of people to deal with. And like guys just hated playing us because from the minute you cross into Danbury to the minute you left, it was literally hell. It was literally hell for them at all times.
I was going to ask you, when you guys went on the road, like, would you guys? I suppose you guys can't really do antics there, but like, when you guys were on the road, like, how did opposing teams or fan bases take you guys, or did you guys just bring the craziness to them?
We were. I wish I had the exact statistic, but we were the #1 ticket gate for a visiting team. So when our circus came to town, these guys were selling out. And that's why they loved us deep down, because we were selling tickets. And I'm telling you, they hated. We created, in professional wrestling terms, we created a bad guy. We created a heel, right? And you want to watch the heel, whether they win or lose. You want to watch them, and you want to see them lose, right? And we just created a personality for this team. It was literally a circus. And it was like when we came to town, it's like, oh yeah, we gotta see them. We gotta see them lose. They're gonna get theirs, and it was all part of the plan. It seriously was all part of the plan. But I definitely noticed a shift in attitudes toward us, probably going into the second year. The first year was pure hatred. They hated us like with a passion. The second year, it kind of turned into, we kind of like these guys in a way. Like we're not supposed to like them, but we do. And I would get, you know, emails and physical mail from fans from all over. Like, we wish you guys owned our team, or you know, they were all closet Trasher fans. And but yeah, definitely going in. You know, that second year, I started noticing a little bit of a shift.
Speaking of the heel, and you know, and the team and all that, I'm gonna rewind here, but let's talk about your birthday when you had the WWE superstars. They're like, that's unreal. Especially like you had the Triple H, the Badass Billy Gunn, the Rock, and that was in I guess the heat of the Attitude Era there when these guys were big. Like that must have been huge for you and all your friends.
Well, listen, I mean, wrestling before hockey or anything else was my first love. Like a lot of kids, growing up. And, man, that was when that happened. I mean, because my dad didn't tell me until like the day before. So I was like, what? And he's like, yeah, so-and-so's coming this one. And again, you know, is it a joke? Is he for real? I don't know. And like you see in the doc, when they walk in, that's home video footage. When they walk in, it's like, oh my God. It's like, I mean, growing up like wrestlers, like they were like gods to me, right? So it was like, oh my God, these guys are in the backyard. It's the weirdest. It was just people to this day. I mean, even before Netflix, you know, kids I grew up with always, every once in a while, remember your 11th birthday party with the guy? And I was just like, now it's like the most famous birthday party that's been out. I mean, people love this birthday party.
And I love that too, because like the whole series is from that. It seems like it's from that camcorder you had, and then later on in life, like when the team's actually playing. So, like, I know a lot of people end up throwing some of that stuff out. Like, you must be so happy you didn't toss that or toss the footage.
I have video. So I have literally from 1 day old to presently home videos, and my mom always was behind the camera. always had a camcorder, always. And I just loved the camera growing up. I used to love, even as a little kid, I used to love going around with the camera and tape and stuff. And we have hundreds of, we thankfully converted them to DVD, but DVD. But we had the little cassette tapes, turned them into this cassette tape, then turned them into DVDs. Now everything's USB. But we have everything. And it's so funny that midway through the first season, I was like, let me bring the camcorder to the Trasher games, man, I just seeing that footage like on Netflix, it's insane. I mean, Netflix wasn't even a thing back then, and here it is. And no, I'm really happy. I used to lug that stupid thing around, and it's so much footage. It's insane.
A lot of the footage too, I think everyone appreciates actually getting to see the reactions of Section 102 that you guys had in the building. I'm a huge sports fan, all sports. One of the things I hate, the biggest cliche ever, is when teams are trying to say like, oh, our fans are literally part of the team, right? I hate that because they don't care. Our Section 102, no joke, was literally part of the team. And I'm going to tell you a story why that's true. So our first season, we end up going to the playoffs. First round, we end up playing our arch rivals, Adirondack. And the Frostbite, they had home ice advantage. So, we win the first game in overtime, which is huge. Game 2 is the next day. We end up going into triple overtime. And listen, these guys were spent. I mean, guys were getting IVs in between, intermissions. I mean, these guys were – I mean, you guys know. You guys are hockey guys. Playoff hockey, I don't care what league you're in, is intense. So every intermission, these guys were just tired, beat, exhausted. There was about 70 guys there was about 50 guys and girls from Section 102 that drove up to Adirondack for that game. They literally, going into the second and third overtimes, the guys, they sweat through their undershirts, right? They're drenched. These people literally took the shirt off their back and were handing it to us to get it to the guys in the locker room. So they had dry undershirts.
Wow.
And you had some guys, excuse me, and they might get mad at me, but a lot of these guys in Section 102, they're not going to be underwear models anytime soon. So these guys were sitting half naked in the stands because they gave their shirt off their back for the team. And we ended up winning that game. How much of it is attributed to dry undershirts, I don't know. But the fact is, these guys were willing to literally sit in a cold rink half naked so our players had dry undershirts. They're the most loyal people. You can't have the team. You can't tell the story without them.
Yeah, for sure. And that's what I loved about it too in the docuseries was just like how important that group was and some of the fans and how much they love the team. But a lot of people seem to focus on the sideshow of it all. But your guys' second year with the NHL lockout and stuff, you got some Mike Rupp ended up playing, Devils guy that you loved. We know that from the series. But I was also listening to a few other the other shows you were doing. You almost got Georges Laraque, and I bring that up because we've had him on here for an interview as well. And you almost got Sean Avery. But a lot of people forget your second year. You guys made it to the finals. You guys had a good hockey team. It just beat the wheels off everyone.
Here's the thing too. We understood very early on is. We want to be nuts. We want to be tough. We want to do this. We want to do that. But if you're not winning, it doesn't really matter, right? So, how fun is this team if you're losing 6-2 every night, but you got 6 fights on the ice? That'll get old real quick. So it was important to us to have a good team, and it's something that we learned early on too. Is the enforcers. They love being on our team because they weren't, you know how it is. Even back then when there was a lot of fights and toughness, you had a team, maybe you had 2 tough guys, and those 2 had to answer the bell every game, right? We had 8 guys. So
Jesus.
you rotate, right? Brad Wingfield, if he doesn't get hurt, I promise you, he probably has close to 600 penalty minutes and over 30 goals if you average out his season.
That's
video game numbers, right? And the thing was, the enforcers liked it because they were able to show a different side of their game. Because a lot of guys like Brad Wingfield, they know, hey, I'm here to fight. I'm here to answer. You know, this guy ran our goalie last year, so now I got to fight. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. Now, guys didn't have to have their hands beat up, their heads beat up. They rotated. They're like, all right, it's your night, John Morassi. Oh, it's your night, Ruben Nader. You know what I mean? And these guys were able to skate and show a different side of their game that they could actually play. So they loved it. And the skilled guys loved it because you couldn't even poke check these guys. You're gonna get hurt. You know what I mean? So it was like there was a lot of, it was like an Olympic size rink for those guys. They had a lot of ice. They I saw it all the time, man. Defensemen wouldn't even try. They were just like, go, and if you really, and I was always a stat guy, if you're that bored in life and want to analyze that much, these guys had career years in Danbury because just what we put together was just something you don't see a lot. And these guys, the whole thing meshed so perfectly. And some of it is luck, but we just caught lightning in a bottle.
I guess with having, the 8 heavies on the team and all that, going with the hockey fights, dropyourgloves.com, you can see all these fights, right? And
yeah,
John Nasty Morasty. How was it having that guy around for the year and a bit that he was there?
I've never seen a head like his. His head is so big, okay? You couldn't hurt this guy if you wanted to. And when I met him, I knew immediately. I was like, oh, this is the guy. This guy right here. I mean, first of all, he's smiling at you the whole time he's fighting you, right? So that makes you mad, right? He's laughing at you, he's grinning at you, and that's annoying. First of all, you couldn't hurt him. I mean, you would punch him, and it's like punching through concrete. I mean, you can't hurt him. He had such fast hands. Now I'm in the boxing world. I see his hand speed was ridiculous. And, man, he's just another one of my favorite guys in the world. I mean, loyal, tough, great locker room guy. He was great, man. He was something fun, and he was in his prime at the time too. I mean, he was an attraction for real.
He could switch right to left and not miss a beat.
Just rock him like rock him, sock him. That's what it was with him.
I loved it too because like you said, you had 8 guys, so it's just like you said, just one after the other. Take your turn. Like there must have been some teams that are coming in, and like there must have been some mysterious flus and injuries where there's like,
listen, I don't know if you set that on the tee for me purposely, but they called it. It was unofficially called the Danbury Flu, and I had guys the second year that ended up playing for us that we played against the first year. And they'd be like, AJ, this guy, every time we came to Danbury, his knee was acting up. He had a concussion out of nowhere from the bus trip. Anything to get out of playing. And they started calling it the Danbury Flu. And listen, whatever it takes to get the advantage, if that means that, hey, you're going to be short a roster spot because these guys come into the rink and they realize, nah, not today, sitting on this bus for 6 hours, getting paid $200 a week. That's not for me today. Whatever it takes, bro. That's what it was all about. Ultimately,
they were just trying to get off the short bench on the.
Yeah, hey, listen. You never know. You could have a short bench one night. You could have a whoopee cushion. It was just the dumbest. You just never knew what was going to come. And sometimes doing nothing was the worst part because sometimes we didn't have any pranks or anything. And you'd see guys kind of like waiting for the shoe to drop. Like, all right, what's going to happen? Like, something going to light on fire. I mean, sometimes doing nothing was the best thing to do.
Oh, the anxiety would be terrible. Like, what do they have in the works here? You'd be double checking your shoulders all the time. Like, what's going to happen?
It's kind of like it's kind of like the Home Alone movies, right? It was kind of like there was booby traps seemingly everywhere, allegedly, obviously, but I mean, it was very Home Alone-ish. The more I think about it,
I have to say one of the funniest things I saw in that doc is when they started throwing body bags over the glass.
That was so I would get a lot of, and we did have, believe it or not, I mean, we had a mixed review back then, and there was a lot of local people that weren't co-signing a lot of our stuff. And the body bag, when those things would come out, there would be a lot of people. We get a lot of envelopes in the mail for that one. Where it was but I said we used to tell the guys, Section 1, like, listen, as long as you don't go over the glass or hit anyone with anything, do what you got to do. You know what I mean? As long as you don't cross that line, like Malice in the Palace, right? As long as you don't cross that line, we don't see anything. You know what I mean? So that was it.
They paid their ticket. They, they're getting it.
Hey, listen, $20 a game times, 6-7 games a month. That's a bill for people. You know what I mean? Have fun, man. This is entertainment.
And it just made me think of one story too I've heard from checking in on other shows you've done, is another one with Tommy Pomposello in the crowd, is when you're speaking not knowingly to another GM of another team.
Yeah, that was a rough night for me. I got in a lot of trouble for that one. That was like when like if you have a dog, they do something wrong, they won't look at you, they have their head down. Like I knew the minute I got back to like the owner's box, I was in trouble. I mean, we're sitting there, I don't know, we're playing Richmond, and they're beating us. They're beating us bad too, and I was mad. Don't know why I ended up in Section 102, which was not a good recipe for any of us. And I'm a teenager, right? So I'm getting they're hyping me up. I'm flipping this guy off, doing this, and all of a sudden, a guy I'd never seen before, comes up to me, and he's yelling at me. He's like, "What are you doing? Stop! Stop egging this on!" And I'm like, "Who is this guy?" Like, some choice words. I'm like, "Get out of here!" You know what I mean? And he's not backing down. So now I'm like, "All right." So they're egging me on, like, fight him or beat him up or So we end up like kind of nose to nose, like an umpire and a manager, you know what I mean, in baseball. And I see T-Bone like from my peripheral, like running around the rink, and he like Goldberg spears this guy, right? And I pick him up. We get the hell out of there. Like literally the minute we walked up there, my dad's on the phone, and he just, he just shot me a look, and I think it was Brasal or whoever. Like, do you know who you guys just like, threw down? And it was his name was Jeff Croup from Richmond. He was the GM of the team. And I was like, that's tough. And I was just like, oh man, I'm in big trouble. So my dad was really mad at me too. And so I had Brasel yelling at me, my dad yelling at me. I think I got fined. I was ordered to write like an apology letter to the league. And I'm not proud of this as a 35-year-old, but I wrote it in like crayon. I was just a little dick, and it was just crazy, man, crazy.
I had heard that story today earlier, and I knew you were kind of a wrestling fan, so I kind of pictured JR calling that in my head as it was
God
going.
Almighty. Yeah, that's exactly what it was. Now I look back on it. You could put JR call on like anything, like when Mick Foley goes off to Hell in a Cell. That's basically what it was.
That's awesome.
Man, if there was footage of that spear, because it was a nicely executed spear. I mean, it was like Edge and Christian, so it was just like, oh my God, that was a beautiful spear.
Also, being a wrestling fan like you, how cool is that to have John Cena come to one of the games?
Oh, that was awesome. I mean, he was the U.S. champion at the time, and it was like, when he came, it was like a month or two before WrestleMania that year. And you talk about a humble guy. I mean, he was he's not where he is now, but even back then, he was a big deal in that world. And he was just such a humble guy. He was super cool, took pictures with everyone. he did like I think in between the first and second period, he was doing like some entertainment with some of the fans. It was such a cool guy, man. He was just, and I got his jersey somewhere, and I'm dying to find it because I know I have it somewhere because we gave him a blue Trasher jersey. His number was 54, and he signed it. I got to find that jersey. It's somewhere.
And that's the thing, too, especially with this, you must be getting asked a bunch now, like, to bring out the Trasher jerseys and the merch and stuff like that, eh?
My living room right now looks like an Amazon fulfillment center. It's like I got boxes. My poor wife is like a factory worker right now. She's folding stuff up. She's got I don't know what to do. I just had to order before, like some back-ordered shirts. I'm running a pro shop. We don't even have a team. And it's like, my poor wife, what time is it? Man, my wife is definitely folding shirts as we speak. You know what I mean? And it again, though, it's just the fact that people are just like so into having Trasher stuff is crazy to me. It's a garbage can with a stick, right? So it's like the whole thing on so many levels is so crazy, but it's again, I know I keep saying it, but it's just the whole thing is so humbling. I don't know what else to say. It's just it's super cool.
It is a badass logo, though.
As I get older, I appreciate it a lot more. I mean, with logos, it is something else, man. It's we got some things cooking, other merch and stuff. I'm really excited.
I was even gonna say too, like I don't know if we have a picture of it, but the picture of the bus, like that thing, that was nasty.
Oh, Nick's saying no.
That was all I gotta tell you, that was all my father. My father's always been into cars, race cars, anything with wheels, right? My dad loves. And that was like his baby. When he bought that coach bus, it was like a sleeper. Guys could sleep in there. I mean, they had like a kitchenette. But he wrapped that thing. There it is.
Great job, Nick. Thank you.
Listen, that's when you saw that bus, that's Darth Vader coming out. You know what I mean? I mean, that was one of, when that bus got done being wrapped in graphics, I remember that was one of the happiest I ever saw my dad. He loved that bus.
So nice.
It is wicked. Now I got to ask you, just because we don't want to keep you too long here. Was there any, like, what's the one memory? What's the favorite memory of this whole thing? Like, I'm not talking the Netflix thing. Like, take that out of it. But like living in that moment, what was your favorite memory from then?
It's a great question. I would say there's a few games that come to mind that just were special. They just had a crazy atmosphere, especially in Danbury. But I don't know, man. I always got pride, especially now it's on a whole nother level. I always got pride, like driving around town and seeing a random person like a Trasher shirt. You know what I mean? It's like, it's a blue collar town here, and like someone spent, hard earned money on one of our shirts, right? I don't know. There's something about that whenever I would see that in Danbury, I'd be driving around, or you see someone random you don't even know wearing, your team's logo. I don't know. There's just something that always, or to be honest with you, that triple overtime game I spoke about, the first game with Adirondack, when we won in triple overtime, I remember we were on such an adrenaline high. We went back to the hotel room. It was me, my father, and my buddy Steve. We were up all night. We pulled an all-nighter. We were so hyped we won that game. I remember we ordered Domino's pizza at like 3 a.m. Those are little moments I'll always remember.
I love that. Want to plug this in, Derrick, quick?
Yeah, no, I'll just ask you what's going on with the gym, and then merch and stuff, I guess, because I've seen a bit of it out there. So if you want to take over here and let the fans know. Yeah, no, I mean, I own I've been in boxing now a little over 10 years. I work with fighters. I manage fighters, promote stuff like that. Our Gym Champs Boxing Club in Danbury is literally 3 minutes from the ice arena, which is funny. I pass the ice arena every single day to come here, and it's cool, man. I try to bring a little bit of that Trasher vibe here. It's a totally different sport, but we got a good program. You can check the gym out on Instagram at Champs Danbury. We got all our fighters on there, the gym.
I'm working on some special Trasher stuff for the gym. I'm working on as we speak, but it's cool, man. It's kind of like bringing two worlds together, which is insane. And yeah, as far as the merch goes, we're working on rolling out some new stuff. Again, if you go on Instagram or Twitter at DB Trashers, we're going to be posting over the next few days some new stuff. dbtrashers.com is our website, but literally there's nothing in right now. So, but as soon as, follow us on social media, because over the next few days we got some stuff coming, and just if people still want it, we'll roll it out there.
Yeah, we'll have to get some Trashers hats or shirts, Derrick, to rock on the show for a bit.
For sure.
Yeah, 100%. You guys let me know whatever you guys need.
Perfect, AJ. So
awesome.
Before we let you go, I just want to say thank you for giving us the time. We know you're a crazy busy man. You've
Much
been doing
appreciated
all the time. I just want to say thank you from Habs Tonight. I know it's not Habs content, but this is kind of what we do on the side for some fans that like more than just the Habs. So
yeah,
really, really appreciate you coming on to our show.
No, 100%, man. Like I said, it's busy, but it's cool. Because, listen, when I got into boxing, nobody wanted to talk to me. And so I know what it's like to try to get an interview or something, and people are kind of like brushing you off. So, you know what? If I got the time, I'll always make time for people. You know what I mean? And I'm very, my father too, we're very appreciative of the support. And, go New Jersey Devils. We're 2-0.
There you go. Too. Well, thank you very much, AJ, and maybe we can get you on later on in the season, and we'll talk some Devils Habs, maybe get a pregame or something with you.
1 million anytime. You guys just let me know.
Perfect.
Sounds
AJ.
good.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Man, that was awesome.
That was sweet. I really like that. That flew by too.
I know. I kept checking the time, just wishing it would slow down a little bit, but
right.
It was fun.
Yeah, no, I'm super pumped. I guess we'll in wrapping up here for everybody. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Follow all the socials.
Habs Tonight, all the habstonight.net to get your merch too as well. I know we don't have Danbury Trashers merch, but we are going to have some new stuff coming out soon too. I know Nick's been working like crazy. I know we've hinted at this a bunch for the fans that tune into everything. The news is still coming. We still have the news. We're working on it. I think it's actually up a notch from what we thought prior. If it works out the way we want it to, it's better than we originally thought, and that's why it's taken us so long. So stay tuned to that for all the socials.
Be patient.
Yeah. We have the Habs against Carolina tomorrow night. KK's back in town. I imagine we'll have a show or something going on tomorrow. Stay tuned.
For sure with him. And then,
first episode back for Cans.
That was a banger. Big fan. That was awesome.
He was so nice too. And just like humble.
Awesome guy. Super easy to talk to, right? Just if you haven't watched that doc yet, watch it tonight. Like put it on right after this.
All right. So thank you everybody for tuning in, spending an hour there with us, trying to keep this a little short just for the fans. And Derrick, you are off to go coach.
Yeah. We tournament game 2, looking to go 2-0. So hopefully the boys come out firing, and then I guess we'll be back when we're back.
Sweet. So make sure to check out Habs Tonight. I know Twitter League was back this week as well. It's a pregame show, postgame shows, stuff like that. 82 game season, so I don't think we're gonna do a pregame and postgame for every single game this year because that's just nuts. We have schedules, but we're going to try to do the premier games like Habs versus Leafs and stuff like that. We'll kind of do something, but thank you everybody for tuning in. It was a blast. Can't wait to see you guys next time on the Habs Tonight YouTube channel.
Cheers. Everybody.